For those wondering, and listen, here's the thing. We could be hyping up First Descendant. I'm actually not hyping it up. I'm going to go into this game with an open mind, as we do not have many games ever that decide to step in the realm of Destiny. And that's essentially what this game is going to be. It's like a hybrid between Destiny and Warframe. Now, I will say this. We played the beta years ago when it first was going to come out, and it was not good. It had a lot of issues, had a lot of problems. And the devs, they pulled it back. They cooked it for another year. We played it last year during the beta. The beta was better, but I still don't know if the game is going to have staying power or not. It is free to play though. But let's just take a look at this video that was shared out by them and then discuss it from there.
카렐이 이끄는 벌거스 군단과 계승자의 전쟁이 깊어지는 가운데 퍼스트 디센던트는 나만의 전략을 만들 수 있는 다양한 선택지를 제공합니다. 저마다의 개성 있는 스킬을 가진 계승자 캐릭터, 궁극 무기의 고유 능력, 외장 부품의 세트 효과, 모듈과 랜덤 옵션까지 선택의 연속이죠.
우리는 플레이어가 자유로운 방식으로 원하는 캐릭터를 선택하고 꿈꿔왔던 판타지를 달성하도록 하고 싶었습니다.
다양한 시스템으로 캐릭터를 성장시킬 수 있죠. 우리는 깜짝 놀랄 준비를 하고 있습니다. 플레이어들을 통해 우리가 상상하지도 못했던 새로운 전략이 등장할 거라는 생각에 벌써부터 설렙니다. 지난 테스트에 참여했다면 이 화면이 익숙할 거예요. 계승자들이 각자의 매력을 뽐내며 선택을 기다리고 있죠.
지난 테스트에서 11명의 계승자와 2명의 얼티밋 계승자를 선보였습니다.
이는 빠르게 움직여 전기력을 만들어냅니다. 전기력을 주변에 발산하거나 한 점으로 집중하여 적에게 강력한 전기 데미지를 입힐 수 있습니다.
Okay, so my concern with that, notice they said that, you know, you have 11 Descendants, 2 Ultimates. My concern even during the beta, with this being I guess, a hero-based looter shooter, why would I ever use any other Descendant other than an Ultimate? Because like, I don't know of any other reason why I would ever use a base Descendant over an Ultimate Descendant. We'll see how that plays out. Let's just continue. All right, they're talking about the Bunny Descendant right now, though.
하지만 뭐니 해도 버니의 트레이드 마크는 빠른 속도로 달리며 전기력을 만들어내는 광속 질주입니다. 벨비는 언제 어디서든 물로 변해 물 웅덩이를 만들어낼 수 있습니다. 물 위에선 더 적은 정신력으로 스킬을 사용할 수도 있죠. 적진 한복판에 물 웅덩이를 만들어 순식간에 이동하거나 액체화로 벌거스 사이를 헤집고 다닐 수도
Dude, she straight up just turns into water. Okay.
있습니다.
Alright.
그리고 런칭에는 새로운 계승자가 등장합니다.
애쉬모는 땀 한 방울조차도 위험한 폭발물 그 자체입니다. 애쉬모가 재채기를 하는 것만으로 폭발이 일어날 수 있지만 슈트가 위험을 억제하고 있습니다. 애쉬모는 적이나 지형에 점착폭탄을 붙여놓고 원하는 때에
This guy just explodes everywhere. Okay.
지뢰를 매설할 수도 있어 미리 적의 동선을 파악해 함정을 놓고 적을 기다리는
Laying some traps down. All right, being a hunter main.
플레이를 중심으로 게임을 즐기고 싶다면 엔조를 추천합니다. 엔조는 다른 계승자보다 탄약 보급의 우월함을 가지고 있죠. 엔조는 무기고의 탄약과 폭격 지원 드론을 주변에 소환할 수 있습니다. 더 큰 다른 것을 소환할 수 있었다면 어땠을까요? 코옵을 좋아하는 플레이어에게 유지는 완벽한 선택이죠. 유지는 스쿼드를 치유하고 강화하는 전형적인 힐러입니다. 힐러로서 제이버의 완벽한 상위 호환이죠. 유진과 함께 무역전에 참여해보세요. 스쿼드의 전략이 완전히 달라질 것입니다.
모든 전략은 계승자를
So that guy's the support character. Okay.
선택하는 것부터 시작합니다. 계승자의 스킬과 궁합이 좋은 궁극 무기와 세트 외장 부품, 반응로를 고르는 것이 핵심이죠. 지난 오픈 베타에는 11개의 궁극 무기를 선보였습니다. 그중 가장 많은 선택을 받았던 건 천둥우리였죠. 적을 처치할 때 주변에 전기 파장을 내뿜는 무기였습니다. 사용하기 편리하고 타격감도 좋았어요. 무엇보다 버니와 궁합이 좋아 많은 분들이 선택했죠. 이번에는 11개의 무기가 더 추가됩니다.
궁극 무기에는 다른 무기에 없는 고유 능력이 있습니다. 보유 능력 중 어떤 것은 계승자의 스킬과 밀접한 연관이 있죠. 천리안은 적에게 동상 효과를 더합니다. 비에사가 절대 영도 모델과 함께 사용하면 더 자주 얼음 구체를 소환할 수 있는 빌드를 만들 수 있습니다.
전 좀 더 직관적인 무기를 좋아해요. 쏘는 맛이 시원하고 시각적으로 멋진 무기가 좋죠. 그런 면에서 그렉의 뒤바뀐 운명이 최애죠. 실드가 가득 찬 적에게 사용하면 멋진 스킬이 발동됩니다. 아, 복원된 유물도 잊지 말아야죠. 유도 미사일을 발사할 수 있거든요. 이래서 제가
A straight up barricade there.
우리 목표는 다양한 선택지를 제공하는 것이죠. 시각적으로 화려한 보유 능력을 원한다면 그걸 선택해도 괜찮습니다. 모든 건 플레이어의 자유입니다.
하지만 요격전을 더 쉽게 진행하려면 필요한 준비물을 챙기는 것이 중요합니다. 어려운 요격전에서 만나는 엑시큐셔너는 시간이 지날수록 자신의 방어력을 강화합니다. 이 상태를 초기화하려면 관통하는 빛이라는 공공 무기가 필요합니다. 이 저격총으로 엑시큐셔너의 약점을 관통하면 엑시큐셔너의 버프를 해제할 수 있습니다.
It's almost like champions. You notice right there it says you need ultimate weapons to counter some of those guys, or at least in that particular. It says called piercing light. To reset this state, you need an ultimate weapon. All right, you're gonna have to use these exotics then. Which I mean, I think naturally we will all be using the best weapons possible. Is this gonna be a live service game? Yes, it's a live service. This is a hero-based looter shooter. That's about the only thing it has in common with Destiny is that it is a looter shooter. But yeah, co-op, all that stuff.
세트 외장 부품은 빌드의 활용 정점입니다. 완벽한 빌드를 구현하려면 마지막은 세트 외장 부품으로 마무리해야 합니다.
이 랩픽을 보세요. 포화 스킬을 무한으로 사용합니다. 이 빌드를 만들려면 학살자 세트 외장 부품이 꼭 필요합니다. 학살자 4세트 효과를 맞추면 견인 상태의 적을 처치할 때 정신력을 회복할 수 있습니다. 랩픽의 견인 수류탄과 콤비네이션으로 무한 포화 빌드를 구현할 수도 있죠.
Interesting. What they were essentially just talking about, and again, we're just basing it off of their dialogue there, but it almost sounds like there's an infinite loop you can do with some of these builds. Yeah, I'd say like there's a lot of things that goes into making a game desirable for me, especially in like the looter shooter genre. You can't just dump a bunch of loot on me and give me overpowered builds right out the gate. And I'm not saying that's what this game is going to do, but if you do that, then I'm not. That's not the thing that hooks me. What actually hooks me is like just good base gameplay design, and then being met with challenges that require you to understand your build, and then not necessarily having the hardest level of build crafting or anything, but that discovery of those things that go together. Hopefully this game will have that, but the discovery of like, hey, if I take this piece, this exotic, this weapon, and merge it with this build, will I be able to no longer get shit on in this one activity? And then after I can now progress through that activity, will something good come out of that will make my build or another build even stronger?
4세트 효과를 맞추면 견인 상태의 적을 처치할 때 정신력을 회복할 수 있습니다. 랩픽의 견인 수류탄과 콤비네이션으로 무한 포화 빌드를 구현할 수도 있죠. 이런저런 조합을 테스트해보고 있었어요. 지금 확인하고 있는 건 버니의 무한질주 세팅이죠. 생체 연료 개조 모드를 사용하면 광속 질주를 사용할 때 정신력 대신 체력을 소모하게 되죠. 그래서 압도적 체력 모듈로 최대 체력을 늘리는 세팅을 해봤습니다.
So this is like literally Wrist Runner's ability, but amped up even more. So yeah, he's got the arc ability on his bunny descendant here, and she's just running through doing all this AoE damage to everything.
버니의 광속 질주를 멈추지 않을 방법을 찾아보는 중인데요. 조금 부족한 것 같아요. 체력 수집가를 더 해볼까요?
I will say this too, and maybe I'll get used to this. I'm not a big fan of the module system, just the layout here. It's better than its first iteration in the beta, but and it's not like it's like the most difficult thing to understand or anything. It's just a lot. The grind is going to be in farming the different mods and then ranking them up. Yeah, But here's the other thing too. Why go through this process? Is there this is the one area where Anthem really dropped the ball. I mean, they dropped the ball in a lot of places, but they had no end game. And so has anyone seen like what is the end game for First Descendant? Because yeah, we can go get these amped up builds. We can get the ultimate weapons. We can farm out these mods, rank them all the way up as high as we possibly can, and have the most potent build possible. To then what? Just kill the same enemies that we've been killing? You know, is there going to be something equivalent of raids and dungeons and whatnot? There are regular dungeons where you can add modifiers to get more difficulty and better rewards. Gotcha. But is there going to be a, and maybe dungeons is it, but is there going to be a, because like, let's be real. The pinnacle peak activity for Destiny, the thing that everyone always talks about, even if you don't even play them, is the raids. We talk about being done like day one dungeon ready occasionally, but a lot of people can get through the dungeons, you know. But the raids is like that's peak.
적 처치할 때 체력 회복을 할 수 있으면 더 좋을 것 같은데요.
계승자의 스킬과 궁극무기, 세트 외장 부품으로 빌드의 컨셉을 잡았다면 빌드의 완성은 모듈로 이뤄냅니다. 모듈은 세팅의 모든 것이죠. First Descendant의 세팅은 조합으로 완성되기 때문에 무궁무진한 자유도를 가집니다. 그만큼 예측하기 어렵죠. 그래서 모듈을 만든 전투팀도 어떤 조합이 나올 수 있을지 계속 실험을 해봐야 했습니다.
하지만 세팅에 제약이 아예 없는 것은 아니죠. 수용량이라는 자원 안에서 전략을 짜야 합니다. 수용량이 부족하면 에너지 활성체로 최대 수용량을 늘릴 수 있죠. 하지만 이것도 부족하기 때문에 소켓 타입 부여까지 활용해야 합니다. 모듈과 소켓의 문양을 맞추면 수용량을 절감할 수 있기 때문이죠.
What was that there? Hold on.
모듈과 소켓의
Matching the modules and the socket patterns.
문양을 맞추면 수용량을
Get
절감할 수
save
있기 때문에
capacity. Huh? Okay. And capacity really just boils down to how many modules, right? It's just like Warframe's polarity mods. All right, so this is not the Destiny killer. This game is the Warframe killer. Hot damn.
플레이어는 성장하기 위해 여러 가지 시스템을 사용해야 합니다.
스킬의 위력을 강화하려면 우선 반응로부터 신경을 써야 합니다. 가장 먼저 챙길 건 최적화죠.
Reactors. I remember these.
레벨이
Okay. God, there's so much on the screen.
낮은 반응로라도 무기, 속성, 아르케타입을 잘 맞추고 있으면 훨씬 강력한 위력을 발휘합니다. 하지만 이전 오픈 베타에서는 최적화를 맞췄을 때 위력이 얼마나 강해지는지 알 수 없었죠. 저는 계산기를 옆에 놓고 플레이를 했어요. 이번에는 위력 증가를 툴팁에 바로
Essentially saying, if you think this was complicated, this is actually the simpler system.
알아볼 수 있게 개선했습니다. 여러분은 그저 파밍하고 비교하고 위력이 높은 반응로를 장착하기만 하면 되죠.
Okay, I mean, what he's really just saying is bigger number goes boom. Just use the bigger number.
이게 다가 아닙니다. 궁극 무기는 보유 능력을 강화할 수 있습니다.
Oh, okay.
아니면 랜덤 모션
Okay, he says ultimate weapons can enhance ultimate abilities. Right here, when defeating enemy, the defeated enemy has a set chance to discharge electric shockwave that deals additional damage to nearby enemies. So it just gives you the option to enhance it. Enhance the ability. Okay, all right. So hold on. Are there random rolls for your ultimate weapons? Do exotics have random attributes? Dang, dude, they do. All right, man. I'm seeing the grind. In the beta, they were the same weapons, but they had different roles and different stats. Right, so random attributes. That's grinding. So again, you would want to farm multiple of these ultimates, multiple, in Destiny terms, multiple of these exotics. They're all going to have different attributes. So you choose the one that you like the most, the one that has the strongest attributes, particularly for your playstyle. And then you burn the other ones to then increase your unique ability. So look. I love this. This is all great stuff. This is the kind of stuff that starts to sink its hook into me, because now I'm like, all right, I want to go perfect a build. My only question is, do we have somewhere to take our most potent selves, our most potent builds, and actually challenge it. Because nothing sucks more than getting super, super strong and jumping into content that is A, not fun content to even play in, and B, not challenging for our most lethal builds.
재조정해서 내 전략에 딱 맞게 세팅해 보세요. 마음에 드는 무기가 레벨이 낮다고요?
Says right here, level of your favorite weapon is low.
레벨 전승이 있습니다.
A function known as level transmission. With that, you can increase your weapon's level. Okay, infusion. It's infuse. You can infuse your weapon up.
무기의 레벨을 높일 수 있죠. 모듈은 분해해서
Modules can be dismantled for materials. Okay.
재료를 얻을 수 있고
And
강화해서
enhance for better
성능을
performance.
향상시킬 수도 있습니다.
First Descendant는 재료를 모으고
First Descendant is a grinding game where you collect materials and gradually grow over time. Well, we like the grind around here.
차곡차곡 성장해가는 그라인딩 게임입니다. 성장하기 위해 월드 곳곳에서 플레이해야 하고 온갖 재료를 수집해야 하죠.
성장과 시스템이 긴밀하게 엮여 있기 때문에 편의성을 위한 다양한 기능이 준비되어 있습니다. 그중 정보 열람은 너무 중요한 시스템이죠.
The library.
플레이어가 성장하는 데 필요한
Oh.
재료, 모듈, 외장 부품, 제작
So
재료를 어디
you can actually see exactly where these items would drop if you're trying to farm for specific items. That's the other thing too. How big is the world?
어디서 얻을 수 있는지 정보를 제공합니다. 정보 열람에서 세팅에 필요한 모든 것을 찾아보세요. 아니면 정보 열람에서 모든 모듈과 외장 부품, 궁극 무기를 확인해 보세요. 정보 열람을 길잡이 삼아 여러분의 전략을 완성할 수 있을 겁니다.
잉그리스는 지금 전쟁을 끝내기 위해 영웅적인 계승자의 등장을 기다리고 있습니다.
여러분의 상상력이 필요한 순간입니다. 계승자의 스킬, 궁극 무기, 세트 외장 부품, 모듈로 무엇을 할 수 있을지 상상해 보세요.
나만의 전략을 만들고 파워 판타지를 실현하십시오.
그럼 First Descendant의 세계에서 여러분의 계승자와 만날 시간을 기대하고 있겠습니다.
All right. Let's take a look at this article real quick, guys. The First Descendant Endgame won't be about meaningless DPS or piling on specs. All right, live service games such as the First Descendant, a Warframe-ish co-op looter shooter coming next month, can often suffer from a chronic case of numberitis. Yes, a tragic and goopy disease that stagnant game feels and letting raw, tasteless math multiply and overwhelm what I, in all my critical wisdom, call fun button pushy. Developer Nexon Games were kind enough to answer a few of my questions recently, and most of all, I wanted to know how they immunize their in-game against this miserable ailment. The aim, Nexon tells me, is in motivating players to try out different approaches to combat rather than relying on flat progression. While the First Descendant does involve specs progression, it doesn't drive in-game through meaningless DPS and damage floater progression, says creative director Minseok Ju. He name-checks 19 Descendant characters, 22 different unique ultimate weapons, and over 500 modules slottable upgrades, all of which will hopefully keep things fresh. We're focusing on launching more attractive strategies in parallel rather than continually piling on specs. We're focusing our efforts to motivate players to try various strategies. All right, so we're going to have 19 different Descendants to choose from. How many exotics did Bungie launch with in D1? This is so again, ultimate weapons being like exotics. They got 22. You might know we had around 30 exotics that launched with the launch of D1. All right, we'll see. Now, for in-game content, Juice says combat evolves to focus even more on skills. A focus of the First Descendant is pitting teams of players against massive bosses, a few of which you can peek in the trailer below. We prepare moments where players can shine during party play. One example is the scene where the player tears off weakened parts of the boss by hanging on. It's a scene where a skilled player, using the grappling hook, expertly disables and staggers the boss for the party. Not every boss will require this kind of coordination, Juice says. The void intercept battles that you come across when progressing through the main story can be cleared adequately alone. However, the VIB at difficult levels requires equipments, modules, and teamwork that are capable of incapacitating boss mechanics. I'm certainly interested in checking out more after hearing that there's been serious thought put into how to keep the combat varied and that all-important in-game. Variation, after all, is how gas thrive, and it sounds like the team will be taking this same approach, with the world building. We consider the launch to be just the beginning of the story, says Ju. We will regularly update the personal stories of the Descendants. Additionally, we will unveil hidden aspects of our world Ingress through new episodes at each season. Dude, just show me gameplay. You know what I mean? We'll go look at that in just a second. Is these constant updates along with the addressing player feedback that Nexon considers the secret to launching and maintaining a great live service game. Producer Byung-Jin Lee stresses the importance of being open to ongoing fan communication and feedback. The most significant factor for a live service game is to listen attentively to the community, genuinely consider their feedback, and continuously strive to improve. We'll hopefully have some fuller thoughts on whether the First Descendant is worth your time soon. Until then, why not find out whether its performance can match up to its glitzy graphics tech? All right, let's just take a look at this gameplay. They're using this gameplay as an example of what a coordinated team is supposed to look like in-game. All right. That's a cool ability. I think that's the point that they're talking. This point right here, guys, is the one they're saying a high skill player grapples up and like tears the armor off. So does that move right there and then does like a stun on the enemy. Okay. There it is. Yeah. Okay. Looks all right. I will say the Descendants are cool. I mean, I no doubt about it. The Descendants look cool. They all look unique and different. You know, I think potentially if Endgame does its job right, you're gonna get a meta setup. You're gonna have setups that are like, hey, yeah, this is a good build for taking on ads and solo content. But then there's gonna be like, but this is the build you want to take when going up against these really thick bosses, and also be supportive to your teammates. These kind of games need at least 7 to 10 years of development to be good and release. Well, I put it to you like this, Burn Butter. The game was set to release in 2022, but because of the feedback, they pulled it back for another 2 years. And they could have released it. No lie, they could have released it. A lot of the features that were in the game, that are in the game now, were in the game 2 years ago. But some of the things have been more simplified. They've cooked more. I also think the performance is better. Not saying we're not going to run into performance issues tomorrow, but that was after they had already had a long development cycle. And I got to give them credit. At least they listened. That is true. At least they listened. A lot of devs wouldn't listen. You know, when you get feedback, you know, saying that your game is not good, a lot of devs will be like, well, fuck you then. And then they release it. And then now everyone's saying it. The point is, but I have to respect them. They took the feedback and was like, okay, we're gonna cook it and cook it for another year. And then it went from we're gonna cook it for another year, even after that year. So, you know, I got to give them credit for that. Hopefully the fruit, there will be good fruit that is bared from this. Slap that like button like your mama told you right.